everybody, welcome. Today I want to talk about survival of the fittest. It's a myth. Survival of the fittest is a myth. It is not scientific fact. Especially in modern human society. Simply by observing the society, simply by observing the way that these human beings move around, the way that we live, we know 100% from observation that survival of the fittest is not the fact of nature. What am I talking about? How could this idea simply be accepted by us and not actually be true? Well, that happens pretty easily, actually. So the reason why I'm talking about this is because this is a very dangerous myth. It's a myth that has caused a lot of people a lot of suffering, because what the survival of the fittest mentality does is it gives us an us against them, me against you. Only the strong will survive. And that type of mentality has had us fighting each other for hundreds of years. It's had nations pitting themselves against each other, thinking that only the strongest will survive. But again, based on simple observation, we know that this is not a fact. We know it. How do we know it? Well, so many kids grow up to be adults. They're not the fittest, they're not the strongest. Even children that have extreme mental or physical challenges are still able to survive in our society, to make it to their adult life or make it to old age. People are existing in extreme poverty and extreme disease, or existing with intense disabilities, physical or cognitive disabilities. All of those people are surviving. And it's because we are not living in a world that's based on survival of the fittest. We survive through a collective effort. Nobody is self-made. There's no self-made man, self-made woman. Even if you're living on a desert island all by yourself, you are still existing in concert with nature if you're surviving. It's when we break the laws of nature, or try to break the laws of nature, that's when we get hurt, and that's when we experience the biggest pain. But survival of the fittest is not a law of nature. It is causing us great pain because we've misinterpreted this law. Nature is based on nature is based on cooperation. Human society is based on cooperation. We cannot exist without each other. We are all parts of the collective. So, something that we could say is that there's something like thriving of the fittest. In order to reach the top level in something like business or professional sports or being a professional artist, something like that, there's a certain level of fitness, of drive, of passion that you need to reach a high level of success. That is definitely true. But all the people who are down here they're surviving. Their basic needs are for the most part met, especially in countries that are thriving or surviving. So on the other hand, I would also say that it's true that sometimes the weakest do die. If we watch nature, like for instance in a herd of animals, the people, or the creatures that get picked off from the edge of the herd are the ones that are sick or diseased or injured in some way. But is it only the fittest that are surviving? No. The majority of the herd is surviving, and some of the weakest, sickest members are getting picked off the edges. So again, that is not showing us survival of the fittest. We're seeing something completely different. And so this is something that I became familiar with recently through looking at the work of Gregg Braden. A really interesting thinker who I would recommend checking out. He's one of the people who's working on the intersection between science and spirituality, understanding how these things actually fit together. Where are the links between ancient mystical traditions and modern scientific thought? So he was trained as a scientist, but then became interested in this more mystical side of life. And I believe that one of the progressions that we are making as a society is we're starting to see how these disparate areas of study come together. There is a convergence. And this convergence is a very powerful shift in mindset from the disconnected perspective of scientific materialism, which has a tendency to take us deep into the world of nihilism, essentially losing all faith and losing all meaning, thinking that we are just matter existing by random chance. That is a quick and easy way to take all meaning from life. And I agree with Gregg's perspective that the science fiction of survival of the fittest is it's perpetuating that disconnection from our connection. So this is a really interesting thing to think about. It's a really interesting perspective shift to hold in your daily life. Just think about it. Observe the patterns that you see in nature, that you see in human society. Think about it for yourself. Is survival of the fittest really the pattern that you're seeing? It's not the pattern that I'm seeing. It's not what the scientific evidence is presenting to us. So that's my thought for today. Again, it came from the work of Gregg Braden. I'd recommend checking out his work. Let me know what you think about it. Let me know if you see some areas where you think he is wrong, or where I'm wrong about the information that I'm presenting to you here. Because a big part of my goal for doing these videos is presenting ideas that I consider to be interesting, but also understanding where the truth is. And understanding areas in which I may be deluding myself, or maybe listening to the wrong information, not considering some very important piece and I need to look at. So if you see that, help me out. Give me a comment, send me a message. And I'm excited to explore these ideas together. Thanks for watching.